Another big game is making its way to PC, and the devs say it needs some pretty beefy hardware. So the question is, will it run on the Steam Deck? We'll talk about that as well as the Steam Deck's current library. It's growing pretty fast. Plus, we've got two new games, one that looks great and one that you probably want to avoid. And I want to talk about the Steam Controller 2 for just a little bit. But let's start with Final Fantasy. No, not that Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 16. Though I do want to take just a second and say that Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth has fully gotten its claws into me. Full disclosure, Square did send me a review copy of the game, so a huge thanks to them for that. But this game has totally taken over all of my gaming time. I'm only on chapter 4 and I'm at about 20 hours into the game. The variety of things that you can do in the game is pretty staggering. And while I'd like to think that I'll be able to 100% each area of the map, the pull from that is starting to get to me to try and get through the story so that I can play something else. It's not that I'm not having fun, but I have other games that I want to play as well, like perhaps Final Fantasy 16 on the PC. Final Fantasy 16 has already had one DLC drop with Echoes of the Fallen, and the newest DLC, which is called The Rising Tide, is about to drop as well. Well, when will that game come to PC? That is a good question to answer. When speaking to Game Informer, Yoshi P, the director of the game, seen here watching you buy Final Fantasy for the 100th time, had this to say. In terms of where we are in development currently, we're trying to figure out the final stages of optimization right now. When we can release the PC version might be dependent on the system requirements and specification for PC that players will need. So we're trying to figure that out. Naturally, the PC specifications are looking to be somewhat high. So if you are looking to play this game on your favorite handheld PC or a lower end PC, you might be in for some sticker shock as far as the system requirements that are needed to run it. This is a big disappointment at first look, but Yoshida might not actually be thinking of, running the game at a lower resolution like you would on a handheld. So maybe the game will still be able to run at 30 frames per second on the Steam Deck, though I'm sure it would chew through the battery like a sandworm from Doom. In Doom? Really? Did I just say Doom? I meant in Dune, D-U-N-E, the movie that everybody keeps talking about. In any case, when it does come out, it will be accompanied by a demo, so you will be able to test it out on your hardware before you spend any cash on it, and I absolutely love that they're doing that. But if Final Fantasy isn't destined for the Steam Deck, that's okay, because the Deck's library is going so fast right now. If you look at the games that Valve has actually tested to run on Proton, which, by the way, just got a new logo, 3,920 of them are unsupported. 9,406 of them are marked as playable, and 4,604 of them are marked as verified, bringing it up to about 14,000 games that are verified on the Steam Deck. Of course, those are just the games that Valve has actually tested. There are thousands of games that have yet to be tested that run just fine, and there are tons of ways to play games that aren't even on Steam. One listener named Junk Runner reached out to me to let me know that they were working on a plugin that will allow you to install, manage, and play Epic games or games from the Epic Games Store right in game mode, so you don't ever have to go into desktop mode to figure it out. I haven't actually had a chance to try this, but it sounds really promising. He told me that once he has the kinks worked out, he's going to attack GOG, itch.io, and even emulators if he is, risk averse. It's all just basic script. So if you want me to do a full video on this, let me know in the comment section down below that like button. Next, I want to talk about two games that a lot of people have been looking forward to. The first one is a collection of some beloved games going all the way back to 2004, and the second is a remake of a classic game that goes back even further by a decade, back to 1994, which, by the way, is the year I graduated high school. So if you're looking at my face right now, we're talking really old game. Let's start with the collection, and we'll hit the remake shortly after that. The collection is the Star Wars Battlefront collection, which has Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. The first one was released in 2004 on Xbox, PS2, and PC. The sequel came out in 2005. Holy cow, remember when games didn't take 7 years to make? Anyway, the collection was released today. I've been playing it, and I have to say I'm more than a little disappointed. And I'm not the only one. Single player is fine when you can get it to work. More on that in a little bit, but this isn't what you get these games for. You get these games to play against other people. That's the fun of it. I've been trying to play and I can't get into a game. For online focused games, I understand that the number of people playing on launch day is always way more than how many are actually going to be playing the game on the regular. But it seems like Aspire, I don't know how to say it, they're particularly unprepared for this. Here's a tweet from Seb. They said 10,000 people on launch day, three servers available with 64 slots per server for a total of 200 slots. Since then, more servers have been spun up, but people just can't connect. As I write this, there are 5,000 people trying to play the game right now, and the Steam reviews are very low. Only 24% of people are actually recommending the game. Honestly, this kind of unpreparedness it's a terrible look, and I wouldn't be surprised if just about everyone returns this game, which is too bad because it could have been a fun, nostalgic experience. But let's say you can get into a game. Apparently, the aim assist is non-existent for controller players. Now, in the single player mode, you have aim assist. In fact, I would say that the aim assist in the single player portion is like way too strong. It locks on and does not let go. But people are reporting that they don't have any aim assist in multiplayer, which for a shooter on controllers, you kind of need aim assist. It also sounds kind of bad. The audio is all over the place. Sometimes it's really loud, sometimes it's really quiet. On top of that, if you load into the first game, you can't get back out to the main menu to launch the second game without quitting the game entirely. And on top of that, I tried to play some single player today and it just says failed to load. That's single player. This just makes me want to play the newer Battlefront game, which I think you can get for about $5 at this point. I know that game got raked over the coals because of EA's microtransactions and pay-to-win schemes, but all of that pay-to-win stuff never actually happened. It was all removed before the game launched because of the backlash from the community. Anyway, I can't recommend this game, but thanks for the review copy anyway, Aspire. If anything changes in the future, I'll be sure to let you know. The other game that people have been looking forward to is System Shock, which has actually been on PC for a while. That game actually came to PC back in May of last year, and now a year later, it's coming to consoles. Pre-orders went up today, and the game comes out in May. But like I said, it's been out on PC for a while. Unlike Star Wars, it has mostly positive reviews on Steam and is currently on sale for 50% off, so you can pick it up for just $20 if it's still on sale by the time you watch this. So if you're looking to pick up a game right now and you have to choose between Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection and System Shock, I think the choice is obvious because you can get System Shock on PC right now for a lot less than you can spend on Star Wars. Plus, it's a single player game. You wouldn't have to worry about any server issues. But if you want to wait for it to come to console, it releases in May. And I think the game is going to be $50 on console. Speaking of games that are on all of the platforms, Multiverses is coming back. If you don't remember what Multiverses is, it is a Smash Brothers clone that uses characters from WB. Now, WB has been shelving stuff left and right and closing games down. They've been throwing movies in the garbage. My understanding, and I could be wrong about this, is that they're doing this in attempt to have tax write-offs in order to have more value for shareholders. When Multiverses was in open beta, I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed the game. I loved the idea of teaming up Superman with Shaggy or Wonder Woman with Finn the Human. The graphics looked really good. The game played well, and my favorite character was Velma, Jinkies. Then, for some reason, they shut the game down and they said, we'll be back in a while, which is one of the strangest things I've ever seen happen in the industry. People had spent money to play this game, and WB essentially shut it down for, I think it was about a year. Well, it's coming back online now, and it has a bunch of improvements, but I don't know that I can recommend anyone actually spend money on this game. WB has shown themselves to give, they have zero to give when it comes to shutting a game down and screwing over people that have bought it or making it completely unavailable for game preservation. And because this is an online game, it's even worse, because when it does eventually get shut down, and it will you be able to play it without the matchmaking servers? Perhaps you'll be able to play indefinitely against a friend in real life, sitting side by side, which, let's be honest, that's the best way to play. But as this is a games as a service kind of game, I'm wondering if the account systems would get shut down as well, and your entire roster would get thrown in the bin. Luckily, the game is free to play, so you don't have to spend any money at all in order to play it. I recommend you check it out. It is really fun, but I personally won't be giving them a dime for this game, and I'll bet that's where most people will be. They'll be a little bit gun shy, so I worry that finding a match is going to be difficult. I hope that I'm wrong about this, because the game is actually fun. Another thing that I hope is that you'll click on that subscribe button down below. Only about half of the people that watch my videos are subscribed, and I'd love to hit 100,000 subs in 2024. To everyone that's already helped make that happen, thanks a ton. You're rad. Steam controller, one of my all-time favorite gaming accessories. It died way too soon for many different reasons. A, people didn't want to take a risk on something that was so different from traditional controllers. B, many that did found it to be uncomfortable. I personally think it was fine. I do think the buttons were a little bit small and the build quality wasn't great, but overall I liked it a lot. They ended up getting sued, that's C, by a company that a lot of people have said are patent trolls. Well, so why am I talking about Steam controller now? Well, the Steam Deck has convinced quite a few people the benefits of trackpads. And I think Valve has also learned that a D-pad and two sticks are essential for a controller. I think it's time that Valve makes a Steam controller too. And I am not the only one. One Redditor came up with a brilliant move. They posted over on the Steam controller subreddit a suggestion that might move the needle with Valve, but only time will tell. If everyone puts the Steam controller, you know, the original one with the two trackpads, one stick, and no D-pad, as number one on their wish list or as their favorite game, that could send a signal to Valve that we want this sooner rather than later. Valve has said that they're open to making a new one. Whether or not that us wish listing the OG Steam controller will actually have any influence on what Valve does, I have massive doubts. But it's also a super low effort way to tell Valve that you want one. But that isn't the real question. The real question is, what would you want on a Steam controller too? What would you want it to have? Pause the video for a second and leave a comment below that like button with your perfect Steam controller too. I'll wait. Okay, now that you've got that done, here's mine. For me, I feel like it has to have two sticks, it has to have face buttons, it has to have a D-pad, and of course it needs bumpers and triggers. I would love it if it had dual stage triggers like the original one did, which is something that Valve did not bring forward to the Steam Deck. For those of you that never used a Steam controller, you could pull the trigger just a little bit and it would have one input. And if you pulled it all the way, you would feel a physical click that would give you a second input. You can replicate this in Steam Input on the Steam Deck, but it isn't the same as having that tactile feedback where you feel the click. Now, time for something that's going to tick off a bunch of people. I would be perfectly fine with only one trackpad. For me, I really only ever use the left trackpad on the Steam Deck. It's usually for the amazing menu system that you can build into any game you want with Steam Input. By the way, I have a video all about that. Check it out after this one. I'll leave it linked in the description. The second trackpad is still useful though, so I would be fine if it's there, but I would also understand if Valve got rid of it just for space-saving reasons. I just wouldn't use it as much if it was on there. On the back, the deck has 4 paddles. I would be fine with 2. 4 is nice, but I really never use all 4 of them. If you use all 4 of them in most of your games, let me know in the comments down below. Finally, of course, I would want it to have gyro. This would make up for the lack of that right trackpad for me. But in addition to having that gyroscope, I'd like it to have a second gyroscope, one that would make it feel more like the Alpaca controller, which is a really strange controller. It has one gyroscope to read big movements and then a second gyroscope to read small movements. It feels great, very much like a mouse, and I wish every controller had multiple gyroscopes for this reason. If you want to see more about the Alpaca controller, check out this video right here. Or if you're interested in how to make Steam input to allow you to make your games play the way that you want them to, check out this video right here. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, everybody.